Hello, and welcome to the episode of Todd Talks. And Todd Talks people listen, hopefully, because it's Morphin time! Yeah, here we are again. So soon, I swear. And today we are here to talk about the upcoming death battle between Leonardo, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Jason Lee Scott of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And while I was a little bit unsure about this battle, I have come to it like the anticipation for this one because, as Ben Singer, aka Wiz, said on a recent Death Battle cast, this was the playground argument. This was whose side are you on? Are you on Team Power Rangers or are you on Team TMNT? And as I just dove into the research for these guys, who I love both these franchises, I love both these characters, I realized just how much they are alike. So let's dive right into it. In New York, or Japan, or in an alien dimension, it's really all about the timelines. Let's just do New York for this one. Long ago in New York, a set of 4 turtles were exposed to a radioactive mutagen, and it turned them into, well, more life-size turtles. And under the raising of a man and or rat turned into a rat and or man-sized rat. Again, timelines, people. Oh, gosh. Seriously, TMNT history is crazy. If you don't believe me, go and watch the Shredder death battle. And they talk about all the crazy ways that Shredder has been reinvented over the years. Anyway, regardless, these 4 turtles were raised by a rat named Splinter, who taught them the ways of martial arts and named them after the 4 Renaissance masters, Leonardo, Donatello, Raphael, and Michelangelo. Each 4 had their own personalities, as all kids do, and the one that rose to the top in many ways was Leonardo. Leonardo is the leader of the group in most timelines, except for the terrible rides of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series, which I refuse to consider canon because it sucks. But I digress. And you know it sucks. I mean, compared to the series that they literally just had, the 2012 series, which was so good, which followed the 2002 2003 series, which was so good, which followed the original series, which is, well, that was cheesy, but whatever. Anyway, so Leonardo is the leader of the team, and he is the most balanced of the crew in both mind, body, and spirit. As Death Battle noted, he believes the most in Bushido, the ability to be the true warrior, both in your mind and in your body, to have respect, balance, awareness, belief, and more. He's one of the few turtles who actually believe in miracles, as they say in the IDW comics. And through his focus, his determination, his belief, he became the best fighter of the 4 in many respects and became Master Splinter's favorite son in also many respects, including in certain timelines, Splinter choosing Leonardo to be the team leader instead of just Leonardo saying, I'm the team leader. So, obviously, Leonardo is a master with 2 swords, which is, of course, a great divergence from usual one-sword characters like a certain Power Ranger we're going to be talking about later. And he is absolutely a master of those 2 swords because he's been trained since birth. You see, regardless of which timeline you're in, Master Splinter was a master martial artist himself. And so he used his own teachings from his life to teach the 4 turtles, and this allowed them to be masters not just in their weapons, but in martial arts, including the various forms of ninjutsu, being able to blend into environments, disappear on a moment's notice without leaving a trace, approach a person without making a sound, and using all sorts of weapons if need be. So, and this was good because while he was initially raising them just to protect them from the dangers of the human world, because again, they're turtles, when Shredder came around and Dimension X started opening up and all the other craziness from the mutagen being released, it was good that these turtles knew how to fight. And since their adventures started, they have fought all manner of beings, both human, alien, mutated, and beyond. All right? I mean, we're talking about, first of all, they just go up against Shredder, who's one of the most feared villains in all of media because of his own skill. He regularly goes up against them. Then there's the Krang, which are alien beings in mech suits that they had to fight. There are mutants they have to fight, like Leatherhead or Slash. I mean, there's honestly, it just depends on the timeline that you can pick out all the different ones they have to fight. They regularly go up against the Foot Clan, which is a whole bunch of ninjas. So, well-trained ninjas, might I add. And it's incredible the stuff they can do. Now, obviously, most times they're fighting together and not alone. But Leo is a skilled fighter on his own. He's been able to defeat dozens of Foot Ninja. He has gone toe-to-toe to Shredder more times than not, including killing him in the 2003 cartoon. By killing him, I mean removing his head, which didn't matter because he was a neutron, and this god, it's crazy. But he's also gone up against Karai, who's also an equal fighter. He's fought his own brothers, who, of course, were all trained by Master Splinter and are masters in their own right. And he's fought Triceratons. He's fought Metalhead when it went rogue. He's fought alongside Batman 3 times. And even had a movie made him about it. So, yeah. And by the way, Shredder beat Batman technically once. Just saying. So, does that mean since Leonardo is better than Shredder that he's better than Batman? Doesn't. Anyway, so like I said, his experience is literally decades long because he was trained since birth. He's been fighting for years trying to save New York and the planet. And also mentioned recently on the Death Battle cast, they have even had to fight the Power Rangers and have fought alongside the Power Rangers. So, but this was not, to be clear, that crossover that's happening right now is not relevant to the current comic, or sorry, the current Death Battle, because in the crossover comic, they're facing Rocky, not Jason. Okay, so anyway, if there is a fault with Leonardo, it is that he tries so hard to be a good leader and a balanced individual that it messes with his mind at times. A great example of this was in the the 2008 cartoon, the 2008 TMNT movie, the 3D one, remember, with Patrick Stewart? It's awesome. He felt that he had failed the team so much that he actually went into isolation for years. He just up and left everyone because he felt he had lost his way. And so that shows you how much he feels he needs to be the best leader possible. And at times he will doubt himself into submission. But then on contrast, other times he'll be the one who has the most belief. He'll fight so hard to, get the win and achieve the goal and find someone who might be lost. Like in the IDW comics, they did a slight revision of the origin story where the Turtles were raised together, but Raph had been separated after they had been exposed to the mutagen. And so Raph was alone, having to survive on his own, and Leo spent day and night trying to find him because he believed he was still out there, which ironically, after he found him, it didn't really matter because Raph was already very standoffish and embraced the personality that we all know and love. So, yeah, his belief in himself is very important to what he can do, but that doesn't mean he's not a good fighter. And in a situation like we're having a death battle where his team is not around him, those weaknesses likely won't matter too much. So, in the end, Leonardo is a very capable fighter, a true warrior, a great turtle, and there's a reason that most people like Leonardo above all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'm just saying. So, moving on to Power Rangers. Long ago, Rita Repulsa, the mistress of evil and a very good witch, fought the sage known as Zordon, and their power struggle was so great that they each put each other in a situation which they couldn't escape without help. Rita was put into a galactic recycling bin, and Zordon was trapped in a time warp. Knowing that Rita would return one day, he started his prep to save the world by creating a team of heroes, aka the Power Rangers. So when Rita came around, sure enough, he grabbed 5 teenagers, suited them up, and sent them off into the world. Good plan. Okay, it's a little more complicated than that. But one of the people they chose was Jason Lee Scott, who was a teenager, of course, at Angel Grove. And he was arguably one of the best candidates they could have picked because he was already well proficient in martial arts. In fact, despite only being a teenager, he had won karate tournaments and other martial arts tournaments and was even training young kids and fellow Ranger Billy Cranston in martial arts because he was that good. And when he transforms into the Red Ranger, aka the Tyrannosaurus Ranger, he gains even more abilities and powers, which he used to help fight Rita, her brother Rito, Lord Zed. He came back as the Gold Ranger in the Zeo series. He was a bad guy, technically, in the Turbo movie, which is canon. And yeah, he also returned several other times, including the Forever Red episode, which brought back like all the Red Rangers. And he even was in Beast Morphers recently, which is one of the newer series. So Jason has been technically one of the longest tenured Rangers in the history of the series. He, in fact, if I remember correctly, he is the 6th longest tenured Ranger, behind legends such as Tommy Oliver, Kimberly Hart, Billy Cranston, Rocky, and Zach, I believe. No, Adam. One of those two. Anyway, so Jason has had a lot of experience. You could even argue that he technically does have decades of Ranger experience between the various forms that he's been in, and obviously he keeps himself in shape. But again, when you're morphed, it really doesn't matter. It's a little difficult to pinpoint how powerful the Power Rangers are because of the morphing grid abilities, but it has been calculated via Death Battle. If you recall the Tiger Zord versus Gundam Epion episode, they had to calculate the abilities of Tommy, the White Ranger at the time, for that episode, and see how strong he was. So they realized that based on the morphing grid, which is a universal force, which gives all the Rangers their power, so all of them technically have the same powers as the others with, some slight changes and alterations and all that. It was discovered that Tommy is 32 times stronger than the average human, based on an SPD Ranger lifting a 2-ton car. And that's very good to know. However, as noted in the Power Rangers comic, which they actually referenced in the Death Battle preview for Jason that went out today, Jason and Trini lifted these massive boulders, which were so much more than 2 tons. All right. And so he is well above peak human. You can even argue that he was peak human before he got the morphing grid, because in a lifting competition, he actually beat a strength record that was held by big man bully Bulk. Say that 5 times fast. So, and then the speed factor in a recent Power Rangers comic, Go-Go Power Rangers, just to be clear. Him and Trini went training, and they ran so fast that they were kicking up dust clouds. And then because of their reaction speed based on the morphing grid and other factors, they can perceive attacks in milliseconds. So just from that, Jason's got a lot of power. And then, of course, he's got his equipment. He's got his Power Blaster, which is, of course, just a laser gun, but it can transform into his short sword. Then he's got the Power Sword, which he can charge up to do various attacks. And he's got the Power Punch, which Death Battle's already confirmed is going to be in the match at one point. And technically, he can summon the Tyrannosaurus Rex. However, as stated by Death Battle and the Death Battle cast, the Tyrannosaurus, Zord, and a certain dragon transformation power that Leo had in the cartoons will not be in the battle, because while that is canon, it's not really relevant. Also, there's no doubt that the Tyrannosaurus Rex could probably kill Leo even in his dragon form, and that's if they include the dragon form at all. It's weird stuff, but it's gonna be Mono E Turtle O, so no Tyrannosaurus. Anyway, throughout his adventures as the leader of the Power Rangers, Jason has fought scores of Putty Patrols, which are more than capable of taking out humans. He has faced Goldar, one of Rita's top warriors, like dozens of times. Like one-on-one combat, team combat, Megazord fight. He's beaten him. He's beaten Scorpina, which was the second best fighter in Rita's platoon, who is, very deadly in her own right. He's defeated scores of monsters that Rita has created, either on his own or with the team. He has fought Tommy in his green with evil form, and he's beaten him on certain occasions, including at the time where he actually destroyed the Sword of Darkness to free Tommy of his Green Ranger powers, or sorry, the curse of Rita Repulsa on the coin, which was explained in the comics, so go look that up, and more. He has saved the Earth a lot, and technically speaking, which I'm actually surprised by this fact, According to a certain wiki site, Jason has defeated more opponents in single combat than any other ranger in history, and that includes Tommy. So that should go to show you that Jason is quite capable on his own, which is good because he was the leader of the Power Rangers up until he left. And even then, as noted in the comics recently, when he left for that UN mission, he actually went to be another form of Power Ranger called a Universal Ranger. And that was the name, right? Yeah, whatever. But he basically became it was the Omni Rangers. That was it, the Omni Rangers, and he became basically an even more powerful form of a Power Ranger, facing new threats from the Morphin Grid because of the Shattered Grid crossover series event. You need to go check that out. But yeah, so clearly Jason is up to snuff when it comes to warrior spirit and all that. However, not unlike a certain turtle, Jason puts a lot of pressure on himself. In a comic once, it was shown that he was trying to protect the world so much while Zordon was down one time that he was just absorbing like news clips and footage to the point of exhaustion, and then he would still get up and go save the day with his team, even though he was clearly exhausted and was, basically hurting himself by trying to keep going 100% when he clearly couldn't. And in the case of Tommy, while he did save him from Rita, Rita eventually stole his powers, and that became kind of a lifelong regret of his, was that even when Tommy got the White Ranger powers and then became Zeo Ranger Red and Turbo Red, Jason still felt bad that he couldn't save him powers-wise when Rita stole the green power coin, or stole the power of the green coin from him. Like, he literally regretted it. He's like, I should have done more. We could have done more. You didn't have to lose your powers, etc., etc. That, like, weighs on him, right? And at times he just takes on so much. Like, he lives. You always hear the problem with, like, duality and superheroes, and the Power Rangers have adapted that over the years. But Jason is the guy to do, like, everything. He'll teach kids karate. He'll maintain his own abilities. He'll, do other things with the other Rangers. He'll be a part of various activities in Angel Grove and beyond. He does, like, everything he can to live his life to the fullest while also being a Power Ranger and saving the world on a constant basis. That wears on a guy. So, and also, as you all know, when in Ranger form, while the Morphin Grid does take his form and allows him to be a lot more durable, it has a limit. And eventually he will power down, and he cannot just instantly transform all the time. So, yeah. But despite that, Jason is considered one of the greatest Rangers, and in a hilarious segment on Forever Red, he's considered the greatest Red Ranger, which I honestly could argue, but just for the sake of this Death Battle prediction episode, I won't. So, he's a worthy leader. There's a reason he is one of the fan favorites, even 25 years later after the show ended, and you should be aware when Jason said, let's get back into it. Morphin' time! So, who wins between a battle of Red Ranger versus Leonardo? This is a little closer than I'm sure you would think. First of all, experience-wise, you could argue that they're about the same. Now, yes, we are only taking Jason at his Mighty Morphin phase, but not unlike Tommy, they show his Ranger experience, and this is the entire character. And don't forget, Forever Red had him being the Red Ranger again, and in the Megaforce episode, which was 20 years after Mighty Morphin, technically, timelines, whatever, he was shown there. So, as you can see, he's technically still the Red Ranger. So that is decades of experience, and he still maintains his fighting form. That's just who he is. And even without that, even without like all that excess experience from like Gold and all the other forms he's had, he, as the Mighty Morphin Red Ranger, he had plenty of experience fighting Rita and Zed and all of their goons basically like every day. I mean, the first 3 seasons took place over a course of a couple of years, give or take, and he just kept going. He kept chugging along like day in, day out, where the Turtles, while they do have a lot of experience, it's very much over a long timeline. So, yeah. Now, but then again, but Leonardo, in contrast, has been training all his life. He was raised from birth, basically, to be a mighty warrior, whereas Jason, started out learning Warrior, but then got a lot of boost because of the Morpher. So I honestly feel like that's a balanced act right there. Skill-wise, I'd say they're about the same. Leo is arguably much more stealthy, which is fine. But, Jason's had to face all kinds of beings before, including stealthy monsters. He had to use stealth himself once to beat Goldar. He had to, go up against all kinds of foes that had all kinds of powers. So that wouldn't faze him. So skill-wise, especially martial arts-wise, I think they'd be about the same. If I had to give a slight edge, I guess it would be to Leonardo, but the morphing grid balances out everything. So, again, it's kind of balanced. So, strength and speed-wise, this is where things break out. Now, they say that Leonardo has enhanced strength and speed because of his turtle physiology, which I never really understood, but it's consistent with what's been shown in the comics and in other forms, where his swords, which are just regular swords, are able to cut through metal, like, without much effort. And Jason's obviously been able to do the same, and he's used his power sword to do all kinds of things. But the difference is that while Leo has enhanced strength, he's never, to my knowledge, shown a level of strength that rivals the Rock feat, which again is canon because of the comics and was shown in the Death Battle clip. Jason and Trini are like lifting this rock and they're holding it, and it's massive. It's well over 2 tons, and which is the car reference I made earlier. I don't think Leo has ever even come close to lifting something like that. And if he has, I don't know if I would trust that without outside, support of other feats. Whereas, Jason has done it multiple times, and you can compare him to the other Rangers. And some wikis even say that he's technically stronger than the other Rangers because he is the original. I'm not sure I would put stock in that, but still. And then obviously the speed factor, while both of them can dodge bullets and bolts, Leo can react, I bet, within a second, whereas Jason can react within milliseconds. So that's a faster reaction time. And then the speed, there's no way that Leonardo is faster than a car, whereas Jason was running so fast he was causing dust storms with Trini. So strength and speed-wise, I would definitely give the edge to Jason. And so when you balance that out, also there's weaponry. This one's a little tricky because obviously Leo uses mainly his swords, but he also has your basic turtle ninja weapons like shuriken, kunai. He has if they go like the 2012 secret series, they have the egg bombs, which can help them disappear, which would apply to his stealth, so that could cause some problems for Jason. And but in contrast, Jason has the blaster, which is better long range. He has 2 different kinds of swords, including the power sword, which has its own abilities. He can teleport, which you could argue is not a battle technique, but it technically is something he has done in battle at times, and he can teleport. Like, he can teleport on a whim, and others have teleported him on a whim. So yeah, it's a little tricky, but based on what I know, and the other question here is the question of the morphing grid. Not just in terms of the strength and speed feats, but how much damage will it allow Jason to absorb? That's very tricky because it's very much a plot device of how long Jason can go before the morphing grid cracks. However, based on his battles with Tommy, Rita Revolto, Rita Zed, the Black Dragon from the Shattered Grid comics, Lord Draken, and more, he's taken an incredible amount of abuse from powered-up beings on his level, versus Leonardo, who, while he has swords, in ones that can cut metal, I'm not sure that it would cause a lot of damage to him, and if it did, there's no reason to say that Jason couldn't endure it and then, nail a hit on Leo to take him out. Because while the shell is hard, and the shell is said to be bulletproof in certain incarnations of Leonardo, his head is still flesh. His arms and legs are still flesh. Now, he's got a lot of durability too because of the mutagen and all that, but I don't think it's on Jason's level. So when you balance that all out, they are level in certain ways, but Jason, because of the morpho grid, I think peaks him out. So with that, I am going to choose Jason Lee Scott from the Power Rangers to beat Leonardo in the death battle. And with that, I'm ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win in this playground argument of Leonardo versus Jason, and who do you got? Also, Next episode of Death Battle after Leo and Jason is episode 125, and they tend to do really big battles in 125. We haven't had a 3D episode yet. I kind of wanted it to be this one, but I can understand why now it's not. So who do you think is going to be in the 25th episode, or 125th episode of Death Battle? Let me know, and I will talk to you next week after the battle airs. So, I thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know you were listening, and I'll see you around.